Well, hello again, brothers and sisters. This is the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. Once again, I'm Alex Robles. So I hope everyone's gardens are looking beautiful. I hope everyone's having a great day. And it's almost the 4th of July, folks. You know, get ready for that middle of the week day off. Lands on a Wednesday. It's going to be kind of cool. I don't think much is going to get done. 2 days on, 1 day off. 2 days on, 2 days off. Nah, not a whole lot's getting done. Except maybe thinking about being off of work and doing the fun stuff that you're meant to do. Instead of that job that you don't really hate, but you don't really like either. You know you're just wasting your time. Anyways, got a little off track there. Okay. Alright, so let's see. The strain of this week is Headband. It's one of my favorite. Now, Headband is a cross between OG Kush and Sour Diesel. It's got a nice lemony kind of flavor to it. And the high lasts a pretty long time. And it really does, when I get high enough with it, you know, instead of just medicating with it when I'm there to party and celebrate with it, get nice and high. It really does feel like I got a headband on. It feels a little tight. It's weird. Next, let's take care of some social media. So coming up Sunday, July 8th, and this is a really local event if you're in the Ventura or Santa Barbara area. We have the educational gathering, Discover the Benefits of CBD and Cannabis. And that happens Sunday, July 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. at 227 East Arriaga Street in Santa Barbara. Tickets are $20 and they're available at everbright.com or at the door. You can find them on Instagram at SB_Cannabis Education, or you can email them at cannabiseducationsb@gmail.com. So I'm going to be at this event because they're going to have a speaker there to talk about the differences between hemp-derived CBD and whole plant CBD. And it's something that I know a little bit about, but there's still a couple of holes in my understanding about it. So I'm going to go down there and educate myself a little more. Like I said, tickets are $20. Okay. All right, next let's go to the report from the Cannabis Front Line. One of my favorite segments of the show. Mostly because I love to read about just prohibition laws falling everywhere. Because those prohibition laws were just written out of fear and just kept alive by lies and just, I don't know what else, politics. So anyways, back to the report from the Cannabis Front Line. Federally, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, along with Senator Bernie Sanders, Tim Kaine, and Tammy Duckworth, I love that name, Duckworth, I don't know why, just introduced legislation called the Marijuana Freedom of Opportunity Act to remove marijuana from the Controlled Substance Act and to provide funding for the expungement of criminal records for those with past marijuana convictions. That sounds like a cool act. I'm going to keep an eye on that one because it talks about expungement, and I'm a huge fan of expungement. I think two things that all states should do that get some form of marijuana legalization. That is to expunge all past convictions of non-violent marijuana crimes from people and to use some of those taxes to give free college tuition to students. Give free college tuition to in-state students, man. Let's educate them, and we educate ourselves. That's almost like a slogan. Alright, moving on. Also, the full Senate voted to legalize hemp as part of the Farm Bill by a 86-11 vote. The Senate also, earlier this week, approved a funding bill that contains a provision allowing Department of Veteran Affairs doctors to recommend medical cannabis to military veterans. Yes, that's awesome. Next, in Delaware, a majority of the Delaware House of Representatives voted to approve a marijuana legalization bill, but it did not get the 60% supermajority support needed to advance the bill to the Senate, killing it for the year. Oh, that's too bad, Delaware. To all you cannabis warriors out there in Delaware, great job. Don't get discouraged. Let me know what I can do to help Delaware. So, yeah, man. Hopefully you guys can get to it next year. In Jacksonville, Arkansas, police will no longer arrest people for possessing small amounts of marijuana. How small is small? An ounce? I mean, come on, that's small. Let's do an ounce, Jacksonville. But that doesn't mean they're not going to fine you. They said arrest, so be careful for the wording. But either way, that's awesome. Also, Las Vegas, Nevada officials are considering allowing marijuana consumption lounges. That is a great idea. I love that idea. And I love that Vegas is doing it, because talk about a good test bed to regulate sin. Vegas is pretty good at it. Now, I think cannabis lounges are a great idea, especially for tourists, because, I mean, not just for tourists, for anybody who lives in the town. But if we take just the tourist side of it, if you don't have a cannabis lounge to go to, you either have to smoke on the street, smoke in your car, or go back and smoke in your hotel room. Okay, now the cops don't want to see people smoking on the street. They don't want to see people smoking in their car. You probably don't want to be smoking pot in your car, especially if it's a rental, or even if it's not a rental. Okay, and I'm sure hotel rooms or wherever you're staying don't appreciate you smoking pot in their room. Most places that I know of will charge you like a freaking $200 cleaning fee. So marijuana lounges are a great idea. And it's something every state or every city or town that has a rec cannabis law really has to think about that aspect of it. Do they want, I mean, if you don't want people smoking on the street, you got to give them somewhere to go. So it's going to get more and more fun in Vegas. I haven't been to Vegas in years, mostly because I'm not a big drinker and I'm not a big gambler. But I do enjoy cannabis, so Vegas may be seeing me pretty soon. Okay, now more locally, the town I live in, Ojia, the city council, they had a meeting last Tuesday. And at that meeting, they approved adult use cannabis, which means the dispensaries that are up here, the 3 dispensaries that are up here, are no longer going to be only medical. Anybody over 21 with a valid ID can go in there and buy cannabis. Hold on. Before you grab your keys, start walking out, start running out the door. You know, the regulation hasn't been written yet. I'm hoping that by the end of summer, they'll have it written, and you won't need to be a patient anymore to go into the dispensaries up here in Ojai. Now, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty open-minded for my little town. I want to give a big shout out to the owners of Sesame Creek Collective, and also for the owners of Shangri-La Collective. Both of them got up, spoke in front of the city council, and it seemed like they were a really big force in pushing this issue forward and letting it happen here in Ojai. So thank you very much, you two, for being the cannabis warriors that you are. I appreciate you guys very much. So yeah, so stay tuned to find out when that regulation is going to be ready for anybody to just come up here and buy their cannabis. And that's all I have for the report from the Cannabis Frontline. That was one of my favorite, mostly because, you know, I'm real excited about Ojai. Alright folks, I'm going to take a short break. I've got to get a drink of water, get a little hydrated, and I'll be back with the recipe for how I make Cannabutter. So hang tight. Well, brothers and sisters, I am back. Thank you very much. So now for my Cannabutter recipe. Okay, so what I do is I get my cannabis, and since I'm making edibles, I'm going to decarboxylate it, which means I'm just going to activate it. See, cannabis in its raw form. All of the cannabinoids are in their acid form. You got to heat it up to make the acid evaporate off. Like the THC is THCA. You heat it up and that A evaporates off and floats away. Turns into THC activated. So we're going to decarboxylate. We're going to put our cannabis in the oven. Preheat the oven at 250 degrees. Put your cannabis in for about 20 minutes. Pull it out. Should be activated. Should be ready. Now know this, when you put it in your oven, it is going to make your whole house smell like pot. So be ready for that. Okay, now, once it's decarboxylated, I'm going to put, I don't know, I'm going to put, let's say, a 1/4 ounce of cannabis. I got a little, like, 3-cup crock pot. I'm going to put a 1/4 ounce of cannabis in there with 8 ounces of butter. And I'm going to let that simmer for about 3 hours. After 3 hours, I'll drain the butter out. Make sure to get all the leaf material out. The easiest way I do it is I get a strainer and then I put a coffee filter in it. And then I just spoon the butter into that, making sure, the filter's going to catch any of the plant material. And then once I've got all the plant material out, all the butter out, I'll get another coffee filter and kind of press it together to get all the extra butter that's left in the plants, trying not to get any of the plant material in the butter. You're also going to see at the bottom of the crock pot what are called milk solids. It's a little white liquidy stuff. I don't know if it's fat or what it is, but you don't really want that. It doesn't really solidify once the butter cools. It'll stay really runny at the bottom of the container, so it usually doesn't bother me because it'll just pour out once the butter's solidified, but I try not to get that into the butter itself. And that's the quick recipe that I've used to make Cannabutter. Now, if you want a longer recipe, get a hold of me on Instagram, and you can find me at InMyGrow, or you can email me at inmygrow@gmail.com. Because there's an extra step that I sometimes do to get all the chlorophyll out, all of that hay taste out of my edibles, or at least most of it. So let me know, because it's a lot longer process, and there's like pie charts involved. No, I'm kidding about the pie charts part, but it's just a longer process. And so if you want me to tell you how to do that, just let me know. Alright, now the last thing I want to talk about today is spider mites. The 2-spotted spider mite. If you've ever grown cannabis, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so a friend of mine reached out to me on social media about, had a mite problem. And it's really funny because 2 days afterwards I noticed mites in one of my gardens. So here's just a few pointers about spider mites. So the first symptom you're going to see about the spider mite is you're going to see these little white and little yellow dots on your leaves, the little dead spots on your leaves. And that's where on the underside the mite has been sucking the life juice out of your leaf. Okay, first it starts off really just a little bit, just one here, one there, and then it can just pepper the whole leaf, and then if you don't get it soon enough, they'll just decimate your plant. The spider mite egg is going to be a little brownish, like a flat brown circle. And the young spider mite is the one that most people are familiar with, most of us are familiar with, and they're the little red, they're like little red spiders almost. The adults are bigger, they're black. They've got these 2 little white dots on the back of them. Okay, but that's how you identify them. So now here's what science tells us. After a single mating, females are fertilized for life and reproduce about 75% females and 25% male eggs. Females lay about 100 eggs. Alright, science also tells us that mites thrive in dry conditions, 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21 to 27 degrees Celsius, and reproduce every 5 days in temperatures above 80 degrees. So it's pretty easy to check if you have mites. You just look under the leaf if you've got the little, like I said, if you've got the little dead spots on your leaves. And get yourself a loop just to double check that that's what they are. Usually that's what they are. You can spray them off with the hose, not too hard of a jet on the hose, but hard enough to, knock off a mite. If you're indoors or in a greenhouse, if you can find a way to lower the temperature. I've known a couple of people in closets to use dry ice to bring down the temperature. That makes it uncomfortable for them. They want to leave. And then it's easier for you to fight them when there's less of them around. Neem oil works really well as a foliar spray. A quick word about foliar sprays. A lot of people I know, when they put foliar sprays together, they use a biodegradable dish soap, like a Dawn dish soap. That's great and all. It sticks well. It sticks well to the plants. But don't spray it when the sun's out. Either spray it at sundown or sun up, because what happens is those droplets, they bead up and they turn into little magnifying glasses, and they'll wind up putting burn spots in the leaves. So if you're going to use that, if you're going to do it that way, like I said, do it at sun up or sundown. where you don't get direct sunlight, or do it when the lights are off if you're in a grow room. A way I get around this is I use a product called optic foliar, and what that does is instead of letting the water turn into a bead, it makes it flatten out so you don't get that burning. So either one. Like I was saying, neem oil works really well, but that's not the only thing I'll use. I'll also use a mixture of an essential oils, which is cinnamon, peppermint, and rosemary, and I'll do about 11 drops of each for 16 ounces of water in a 16-ounce spray bottle. Once again, also putting in some optic foliar. And what I do is I'll spray once with neem. 4 days after that, I'll spray with the essential oil. 4 days after that, I'll spray again with the neem. Because one, I don't want the spider mite to get used to what's attacking it, what's making it uncomfortable and want to leave. And the reason I do every 4 days is because foliar sprays aren't going to kill the eggs. They're just going to kill or make it uncomfortable for the adults. So I want to make sure that once those eggs hatch, it's going to make it uncomfortable for those young mites to be uncomfortable and go away also, or die, one or the other. Now also remember, if you're going to use predators, live predators, they're not going to want to hang out on the leaves if there's a whole bunch of oils on there that's trying to kill the mite. Does that make sense? I set my predators out. If I'm going to use predators, I either do it at the very beginning before I start to spray anything, or I wait a few days, 5 days, 6 days after I've sprayed anything to release them. That way I'm not also killing my predators and just wasting my money. You can use ladybugs as predators, but one thing you have to understand is that ladybugs are only going to eat so much. Once they're full, they're not going to eat anymore. Okay, so if you have a really bad infestations, ladybugs aren't going to cure it. Another thing is that ladybug babies, ladybugs that hatch from their eggs, are more hungry than grown-up ladybugs. So the trick is to get ladybugs to hang out in your garden so they can lay eggs, so young ladybugs can help with any pest problems. And now the word ladybug sounds weird to me because I've said it so many times in one sentence. A biological that's really good for them, and I have trouble pronouncing this, is the Neoseiulus. Neoseiulus. Californicus. Okay? It's 2 words. That is the Neoseiulus californicus. So yeah, those are the best tips I have if you have spider mites in your garden. I hope you don't. But if you do, it's pretty easy to catch them early. You know, the telltale signs of the little spots on them, it's pretty easy. So don't panic. Okay? But what I do suggest, get yourself a good grow book. Wait to get that extra light. Wait to get that other fancy thing that you want to get for your grow area. Get yourself a grow book. Educate yourself. Just like earlier that I was talking about educating yourself. You need to educate yourself. You're not going to learn it all off of YouTube. And just trying to ask somebody every time some problem comes up isn't going to help you very much. It's not going to help you learn very quickly. Alright, so get yourself a grow book, please. Get yourself anything from Jorge Cervantes. Get yourself Greg Green's book. But be proactive about your education in this, especially if this is what you're passionate about and you feel like you want to go into the business. Teach yourself something. And that's all I have today. That's it. There's no more notes. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with me. And don't forget, if this show has entertained you or educated you in any way, and you have the means to help the show financially, please go to patreon.com and look for the In My Grow Show. Now, that financial support, what that does is it helps me pay for hosting fees, it helps me buy equipment, and it helps me make videos. So if you can, help the show out by throwing us a few bucks. If you can't help the show financially, don't worry about it. Okay, but here's what you can do. Tell 3 other people about the show. That's it. Real simple, real easy. Alright, just tell 3 other people. Alright, mi gente. Enjoy the 4th of July. Be safe. Don't let the kids handle the firecrackers, okay? Please. And remember to always grow, learn, and teach.
country band in the last fight-ball, playing the last crazy songs for tips in a jar.
I do believe that I done found the life for me. So baby, give me back my medicine, and when we dance, I'll let you lead.
She was the best thief in the county for those who could keep track. If you had 10 fingers when she shook your hand, you'd only get 9 back. I do believe that there's a lock for every key. I worked out all the combinations, and baby, you're the one for me. I may not be young, but I'll never be old.
Got more piss and vinegar than any heart could hold. I do believe only about half of what I've seen. No one could ever come here easy, but when we dance, I'll let you lead.
Ooh, la wee. Come on, baby, dance with me. Ooh, la wee. Come on, baby, dance with me. Ooh, la wee. Come on, baby, set me free. Come on, baby, dance. Come on, baby, dance. Come on, baby, dance.
'Cause you're the key.